G'day ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to Spitfires. Today I'm going to be flying out the Spitfire IIb, the first cannon-equipped Spitfire in the game, and the Spitfire 16, and just showing you a battle from each of these aircraft. Now I don't fly these aircraft anywhere near as often as I used to, not because I don't like them or because there's something wrong with them, but because I have them all unlocked and I've actually fully upgraded every single Spitfire in the entire line, so they're all finished for me. Most of my planes that I play nowadays is I'm trying to get upgrades on these planes, or I'm trying to unlock something new, so I tend not to play these as much. Now part of the reason of getting back into the Spitfires now is because with the new Gryphon powered Spitfires coming back in, I need to remember how they fly. So takeoff was pretty standard, pulled into a cloud bank right after takeoff to vanish from enemy spotting, and I spotted a P-39 through the clouds. I've moved out to intercept. However, upon pulling out, I've spotted an F6F, a P-40 and a premium American Ki-61 coming in on me, so I need to deal with these first. These aircraft are a lot more manoeuvrable and a lot more difficult for a Spitfire to handle. So first up, I've locked up the F6F, but the P-40 is coming in fast. Prepare a bank over and pull into a head-on with the Ki-61, take a shot and roll out. I don't want to stay in front of it for too long. The Ki-61 and the Kitty Hawk have both broken into a turn. I'm being 3 up from the start of the match, but the rest of my team, who were going to the other side of the map, have spotted the threat and are moving in, so I know I have cover incoming. All I need to do is try and kill these guys and to delay this fight as much as I can until backup arrives and the fighters start splitting out. I've gone to landing flaps to try and give me that little bit of extra turning. It'll be interesting to see how this works in the next patch, considering that in excessive speeds landing flaps will now break off. So planes that do not have combat flaps will be unable to use them in this manner, at least not at excessive speeds. I'm not sure what the break threshold will be. Rolled onto the Ki-61's tail. I'm just taking some speculative shots at the moment. I'm trying to get a lead on, but this guy is rolling the plane very well to make it hard for me to get an accurate lead. Now I'm already down to 88 rounds of ammunition due to a couple of misses. The Spitfire IIb, of course, is armed with 4 7.7mm machine guns and 2 20mm cannons. Ammunition load on the cannons is pretty sparse, 28 rounds of ammo left. I have got a hit on the Ki-61 however, but the P-40 just made a pass and boom through, so I'm on a limited time frame here. I need to kill this Ki-61 now, and there's the critical. Roll onto its tail, put a couple more shots in. I've got to break off. The Kitty Hawk is moving to kill me. The Ki-61 has taken massive tail and elevator damage, so hopefully it's out of the fight. Stand on the elevators and try and drop onto the Kitty Hawk. Now the Spitfire and the Kitty Hawk are actually fairly closely matched in manoeuvrability, but the Kitty Hawk is faster. The Spitfire does have the manoeuvrability advantage, but there is very, very little in it, especially if the Kitty Hawk's a good pilot. And this guy was not bad. Inverts and pulls straight up underneath, so I do the same. Aileron roll over and do a inverted half loop. Drop into on its tail. Now you'll hear the engine revs dropping regularly, and there's the kill for the Ki-61. Now as I said, you'll hear the engine revs dropping regularly because the early Spitfires are not fuel injected engines, they're carbureted. Pulling negative G's actually pulls fuel away from the engine, and the engine will semi-stall and starve for fuel, so you'll suffer RPM and horsepower drops pulling negative G's in a Spitfire. F6F just plows into the ground, jumped on by 3 of my allies. In level flight I've got this thing at full wep. The P-40 is pulling away, but it's very, very, very close, so I'm hoping he's going to turn around and try and make another shot at me, especially considering there is a Spitfire ahead of him. It's about 8k's out, but I'm hoping when he spots it he'll turn around and try and deal with me more closely. He loses a little bit of speed there trying to take a shot at the AI as it went past, which allowed me to put some hits into its tail. Second AI has fallen in and I take hits from behind. I never saw that dot pop up. The damage to the wing is marginal, but it's enough to drop my manoeuvrability below that of the Kitty Hawk, which has me worried. And it was a second F6F dropping in from the sky above. I have to say that was almost a perfectly executed boom. I never saw it coming. The second one comes through, so I pull up, invert and go into a half roll. cause him to overshoot. Now both the threats are in front of me, so I can see them both at once. But the damage to the wing, if I go into a turn fight, my manoeuvrability is probably going to match the F6F, but the Kitty Hawk is now going to easily outturn me, and I'm out of cannon, so I'm down to the 4 7mm machine guns. Kitty Hawk is running 650 calibers, so I don't want to get in front of it. It will pull me apart. Take another big hit. I just couldn't avoid hard enough then. Again, it was marginal damage, but it is all accumulating at the moment. The plane is handling like crap. Roll over and shots immediately come in from behind from the F6F, so I've had to invert half loop again. Back into level flight, so he overshoots. I can't take both of these guys at the same time with this much damage, so I originally turn in an attempt to follow, but 2 allies are on them to keep them from turning back. They've bought me a window of time to return to base and get this plane down on the runway. I'm in desperate need of the cannon ammunition backup to deal with these planes, and I'm in desperate need of getting this plane fixed. So let's take this thing back to the runway and land. Where I immediately break the prop on landing and then overbrake and flip the plane. I completely derped the landing out here, but it wasn't too detrimental. The plane was repairable, and my crew skill puts this thing back up inside of 30 seconds, so back in the battle shortly. So I get back into the sky, and unfortunately things have not gone well for my team. The enemy team has 4 players still up. They're all cycling through landings and repairs at the moment, and the only player left alive on my team is a fairly new player flying a Spitfire IIa. It's really easy to have a shot at players that just don't think, but this guy was incredibly new. I don't hold anything against him. He really honestly didn't know. He dove into the 4 enemy fighters like you would in arcade, not thinking. I imagine this is one of his first realistic battles, and promptly gets one shot by an air cobra. He was shocked at how quickly he died, and he complained a little in chat, but it sort of come about afterwards that he never realised that air cobras are armed with a 37mm cannon. He never knew he was in that much danger diving in until after he was told. Now, I want to make it clear I'm not bagging this player out for making a mistake. Every new players make mistakes, but I want to use this as a moment to give mention to new players. When you're going to go into realistic battles, before you look at your plane, or take your plane into battle, look at your battle rating and have a look at the potential aircraft in every nation that you can face within the limits of the battle rating. Usually look about at least 1.3 battle rating up and down if you're new to RB, because that's about the area you're going to be tiered. And look at the weapons they're armed with, the speed they're capable of, and make an educated guess. Maybe do a little bit of research on how they're actually flown. It'll prevent mistakes like that happening and you putting yourself into a potentially dangerous situation without realising you're in a potentially dangerous situation. Now this of course leaves me in a little bit of a spot. All our AI has been shot down, and that was my last ally. So it is me in a fully repaired, fully fueled, undamaged Spitfire IIb versus a Air Cobra, a P40, or 2 P40s, and an F6F. I've got my work cut out for me here. So the F6F is coming in first, and honestly this is the plane that I was hoping I would have the opportunity to attack first. This plane in a straight line has more speed, but if it's going to run in a straight line it's going to have a lot of trouble killing me. I've got it in the manoeuvrability area. Its firepower is good, but it'll take a few solid hits to get on me, which I don't think it should be capable of. At least not if I'm flying well. However, my 20mm cannons will gut this thing in a single hit. So I shoot underneath, invert half roll, pull in onto its tail. 2 hits and there's the critical. I probably overdo it with the guns there, waste a little bit of ammunition that I didn't really need to drop. He tries to do an invert half loop himself to pull in underneath me, but the plane's too damaged to pull out of it, and he drives it into the ground. So first target eliminated. Next up is the first P40. The air cobra is in the area I'm manoeuvring into, so immediately roll and loop the plane, invert under, and take the plane into the vertical. I'm carrying more speed than the Kitty Hawk was. He stalls out, giving me a perfect shot position. Critical damage. I accidentally click fire then. Misfire, it cost me some cannon ammunition that I really could have used later on. Follow through, but he is really wobbling around. I've obviously done some major damage to his control surfaces. He attempts to pull it back up to continue manoeuvre and stalls the plane out again. And there's the fireball, so that's a second kill. So my odds have dropped from 4 to 1 to 2 to 1. Unfortunately, that's going to be my last kill of this match. Now, I did everything in my power to try and be able to take out the remaining two fighters, the remaining P-40 and the remaining Air Cobra, but the problem was the Air Cobra pilot. He was not a new player. He knew exactly how to fly his Air Cobra to best effect. He booms through, I duck under, he doesn't attempt to turn with me, he just booms out of the area and exits. Maximum throttle, pulls it back in to about 3 kilometers range, turns around and booms again, and just continually passes over and over again. Now, this was not a problem. I was managing to avoid every shot he put at me, and he was just doing the same thing, and this lasted for about 5 minutes. The problem for me in this situation was the enemy team has 2 fighters still up, and the second is a P-40, which is almost as manoeuvrable as I am, and is still faster. Now at the moment he's gone to their far runway to get a repair and a rearm. He took some damage from that Spitfire pilot that got taken out by this Air Cobra. So why this Air Cobra pilot is incapable of managing to kill me, I can't kill it either. I cannot catch this aircraft. And I'm on a timer, because eventually that P-40 is going to repair and it's going to come back into the battle. And then I'm going to be forced to enter a turn fight with a P-40 while defending myself from boom and zoom attacks like this one from an Air Cobra pilot that was extremely skilled at doing this kind of flying. So about 5 minutes have passed and the P-40's just entered the battlefield. It's immediately engaged me in a turn fight, and this was a perfect example of 2 aircraft with completely different flight styles working very well together. I managed to loop around and get onto the P-40, immediately get some hits, but that was the last of my cannon ammunition getting a strike in, and unfortunately it wasn't critical. I roll over and I'm getting multiple strikes on this Kitty Hawk, but I am down to just the 7.7s now. I have no further 20mm ammunition remaining, and while I'm doing this, the Air Cobra is lining up for another boom. Invert roll under, again trying to get the lead, more hits, and there's the Air Cobra coming in from behind, first strike in, and takes out my engine, cripples my wings, destroys my elevator, or severely damages it. I still have elevation control, but the plane's maneuverability just went through the floor. The engine stalled out during maneuvers. I'm still attempting to get shots into this Kitty Hawk on the chance for a kill, and I empty the last of my ammunition into it, and that's it. I have no ammo left to try and kill. I've got no engine power to get home. Nothing left to do but to bail out and wish my enemies a good game. And this was a very good game. Even on a loss, I had a brilliant time flying it. Props to that P-40 pilot and that Air Cobra pilot. You both flew amazingly well, and it was an honour to fly against you. So, the results of this match. I came first place on the team with 3 kills, but I actually died twice. Once because I derped the landing on the runway, and once from being shot down. I collected the Fighter Award, 22,965 Silver Lions, and 1,608 Modification Research, which didn't really go anywhere because the Spitfire IIb is fully upgraded. No aircraft listed because I'm not researching anything in the British tree. This was a lot of fun. Even on a match that's a loss, you are able to have incredibly fun matches, providing everybody is playing right. And this was a match where I had an absolute blast. Alright, let's move on to the Spitfire 16. So, up in the Spitfire 16, and once again we're on military exercise. Now, I don't mind this map. I actually quite like the fact that all nations face all nations now, almost. I'm looking forward to the day the Japanese actually fight the Germans. What I have a problem with is how often you get this map. If Gaijin's matchmaking is to be believed, the Americans spent more time fighting the British in the Pacific Theatre than they spent flying Japan. So I selected my first target, Premium Spitfire, and just roll in behind, nice clean shot, light it on fire, and that's my first kill of the match. Now I derp around a little bit in this match as well. I was moving up to clear Oz Salty. There is a P-51 in the area, and I know there is a second P-51 floating around. And I have a bad habit of underestimating a lot of P-51 pilots these days. This is largely because so many P-51 pilots that are out there at the moment would attempt to get into a turn fight with something like the Spitfire 16 rather than attempting to boom and zoom it. And in this case, assuming that these pilots are the same, the assumption bites me in the arse. These guys flew their P-51s exactly as their P-51 should be flown. In the situation I'm in, with about level on altitude, but in a Spitfire 16 versus P-51s in boom and zoom passes, not only do they have the numbers advantage, but they have the aircraft advantage. And I'm about to get two-upped. Now, since they don't have the dive angle on me, the first one dives in on Salty, the second is passing up from behind. I'm aware it's there. I'm getting ready to jink and manoeuvre. And my hope is that the P-51, of course, will go into a turn and I'll pull in on its tail in the Spitfire 16, and this will be as easy a kill as the Spitfire was. Not the way it happens. I take a clip, no real damage to note of, enough to make the paper doll come up, but nothing serious. And the Spitfire just booms out the other end. And when I pull up behind and he's still going, I realise that I'm in a little bit of an issue here, because that second P-51 is getting ready to turn around. Oz Salty's taking critical damage. That P-51 is about to turn around and come back up behind me, and I'm about to have to face these guys alone together. And here comes the second P-51. I'm pursuing the first. It's almost out to 2 kilometres range, so it's getting ready to make a reverse turn. And the second P-51 is up and behind and is closing in fast. It's on a gentle dive, full wep, and is just ripping in speed on me. I sort of turn to run 90 degrees in between them. It gives me the best manoeuvring option to try and avoid them by using their lack of yaw at high speeds against them. Roll the plate up and around. Premium Spitfire is coming up for some fun as well. Him I can deal with. He will turn fight. Unfortunately, I spot on radar the second P-51's now closing back in. I'm now going to get 3-upped, push it into a dive and attempt to run. But of course, the P-51s have far better dive speed than I do. D-20NA puts shots in, crippling damage. Right wing severely damaged, fuselage is damaged, engine has taken light damage. And against a premium Mark 9 and 2 P-51s, that damage has ruined any manoeuvring advantage I may have had in the 16. So my only option now is to try and run. So I'm looking at my allies, trying to work out where's the best place to put this plane so that these guys will break off because there's more dangerous threats in the area. Just jinking around. And you can see how close that P-51 just got then. I'm not going to outrun them. I've got to try and dodge the shots until these guys have somebody else to fight. Or until I put them in a situation where they've got to sacrifice too much altitude to make me worth the kill. So I'm just rolling and jinking. Oz Salty is going for a runway and a repair as well. He's going to go for the close runway. I'm actually going to run to the far side of the map to get my repair there. I need to get right out. If I stay too close, it's likely I'm going to get strafed out, especially with B-17s operating in the area that at the moment are not being attacked. So we're about 10 minutes on. I managed to get all the way back to the runway. The enemy fighters broke off. I got my repair. Oz Salty also got his and got back in the air. He moved back in to engage this B-17, and our team's done rather well for itself at this stage. The B-17 and a single P-51 are all that is remaining on the match. Now, the P-51's gunners did chew up Oz Salty's plane a little bit. He's taken critical damage, so I've moved in to help remove the threat. First pass takes out a gunner on one side, second pass takes out a gunner on the second. I am running a risk here, pulling in on the tail. The third gunner, tail center gunner, was still alive. I do manage to kill him and light the engines on fire, but not before I take a big hit from the dorsal gunner. That gunner, sitting dead center behind the cockpit of the B-17, is able to shoot directly behind itself. Why the hit wasn't critical, it was enough to pink most of the plane, and it has done engine damage, damaging my cooling systems. My engine is going to die in time. But I still do have a couple of good minutes of flight left, so I'm keeping eyes open. I did spot a dot off in the distance, and the P-51 has been reported at low altitude, so I know it is coming in somewhere. I don't really want to have to head back to base again, so I'm hanging around hoping that he's going to come in hard and fast. Just taking the opportunity to get some hits in on the light AA that's operating in the area. Free XP and credits is free XP and credits after all. Spinning the camera around, I realise I'm also bleeding oil and the engine is darkening rapidly. So I've just realised my window of operation has just changed from about maybe 8 to 10 minutes down to maybe 5. So I need to turn around and go back if I'm going to survive this battle. Unload a bit of ammo, take a free kill. And I'm prepping to return to base, because I realise the engine's not going to make it. I'm going to head back to the close runway first. And there's the P-51. Now I have a choice to make here. I can make it back to the runway and land and get a repair. But that P-51's the one that gutted my plane earlier on. He's probably not happy to see me still flying about. So he's most likely going to come in and try and eliminate me. Turning back to base like this would require me to fly basically straight the whole way back, so I'm going to be predictable in doing this and an easy kill. There's only a Beaufighter behind for a defense, and that's a Beaufighter 21. It's not going to be able to deal with the P-51's boom and zoom attacks. So if I run back to base, I'm likely leaving a teammate to die. And to top it off, the rest of my team is also getting repairs and rearms at the moment, excluding that Beaufighter, and we are down on points. So there is a potential that if I take too long, we could lose this match due to ground forces. We've already lost one base, and the other two are getting ready to be capped. I did say in a video a while ago, going head-to-head against an enemy aircraft, nose-to-nose, is a very bad idea, except in some situations. This is one of the situations where I would say that it is a viable option. I'm in a plane that's probably going to die anyway. I've got less to lose than he does, and I've got 20mm cannons. He's the last plane left alive. His death, we win. So he gets a hit in and kills my engine, but I take out his rudder controls and his elevator in return. And that was a calculated risk. I took the gamble that I should be able to kill him in one pass and survive against his ability to kill me before I can do exactly that, and it paid off. Now, it cost me my engine, but I've got enough airspeed to be able to glide and probably make that runway. I won't get a repair there, but I'm not going to suffer full damage and full repair bills on the plane. And if I can keep the aircraft gliding for long enough, the match will end before I have to worry about wheels down. And it does. So let's go to the results. So the results for this battle: second place with 3 kills. Oz Salty comes in 4th place with 4 kills. I get the final blow and the fighter award. 60,512 silver lions, 5,554 mod research points, and 2,777 air research points on a premium account on a double. So despite making a couple of critical mistakes and underestimating my enemy, which is my biggest mistake at all, I managed to pull a win out of this one. And it was, again, a good fun match that was right down to the wire. The head-to-head at the end was a risk, but occasionally those risks are worth attempting, because you may be able to pull off a win by doing so. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.